Hello everybody and welcome back. Today we're going to look at a lot of iconography for Enki. And thankfully, this one's not controversial at all. So Enki is very easy to identify with his iconography. Now let's start off with the Ada seal, which we've already looked at. So this is perhaps the most recognizable image of Enki. We see the water coming out of his shoulders. We see the horned cap. These two aspects are the chief aspects that you can generally expect to see. Another one is the presence of his minister. So Izamud, the guy with the two faces, is standing behind him. And whereas most images of Enki don't have Izamud present, I can't think of a single image of Izamud where Enki isn't present. Now the big issue wasn't with finding images of Enki. The big issue for this time was narrowing it down to just a few. Let's jump to a statue of Enki. Now, here we see him sitting down. We do not see the water coming from his shoulders because this is a statue. But we do see fish at his feet. And then two little figures coming out from right around his legs. We also see, honestly, in my opinion, poorly designed water basin in his hand. So this is definitely an image of Enki, but it's not as clear as it could be. A better image is this next one. So here we see the horned helm, like you see in any deity image. You see him holding a little vase in his hand, a little water basin, and on his clothing you can see little streams of water coming down, and then across his chest you can see the streams of water are crossing. So that's enough to identify this as Enki. Jumping to a few cylinder seals. Here's a part of a cylinder seal where we see Enki sitting in what looks to be a box. There are streams of water coming from his shoulders, and there are fish in the image. He is seated, and again you can see that this is clearly an Enki image. In this next one, again he is in a box, but you don't see the curtain-looking curves on the top of the box. And again, he is holding a jar that is overflowing with water. Jar, vase, basin, whatever you want to call it. It is overflowing with water. He again has the horned helm. You see the traditional hand up greeting gesture. Izamud is present in this image. So again, pretty clear to identify this as Enki. Enki's iconography is very distinctive. I like to see iconography coming out of the shoulders. So if you think about the weapons that come from Inanna's shoulders very consistently, you see the serpents coming from Ningishzita's shoulders. We'll cover Ningishzita later. You see the wavy lines showing heat coming from Utu's shoulders. You will occasionally see a goddess with grain coming from her shoulders. Hopefully we get to her as well. In the Ada seal that we started out with, you see a goddess with lines coming from her shoulders, perhaps rays of light. This style where they show images and the images have some sort of iconic aspect about them coming from their shoulders. This is really great to see because it tells us, hey, this is something about this god or this goddess that makes it very easy to identify. All right, next image. Again, you see the streams of water. In this case, he has his feet upon a goat-like creature, and again you see the fish. So the streams of water represent the Tigris and the Euphrates. And back in the day, it was filled with fish. Much larger fish than you'd see today because the fish were far more plentiful. And Enki is depicted in tons and tons of images, so it's nice to see that over the centuries his iconography remains consistent. Moving on, we've got an image where Ningishzida, and you can tell because he has those two serpents coming from his shoulders, is leading a individual into Enki's presence. And Enki has not just one, but many overflowing jars of water. Now, this is line art because the original image is kind of hard to make out. And this is a photograph of a cylinder seal. It's not the cylinder seal impression, it's the seal itself. So you can see the water coming from the jar in his hand. And thankfully, that is enough that we can say, hey, this is Enki. So as you can see, Enki is a very easy to identify god. And perhaps that is because he is a very, very prominent god in the mythology. He is the solution to many of the problems that the gods find themselves in. He is the one who is clever enough to plan far into the future and set things up so that they will happen the way he wishes them to happen. And you don't see that with a lot of other deities. So because of this, Enki is one of the most commonly depicted of the male deities. All right, that is all I have for you, and I hope you enjoyed. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.